Go ahead.
Are the mics live? Good morning. Good afternoon. Normally at this point, we would be calling to order the Alternative Educator Preparation Application Review Committee, but today we don't have a quorum at this point in time. We are hopeful that some of our, at least one or two of our other members will be joining us, and in which case, if that happens, we will call the committee to order. So in the meantime, what we would like to do is conduct a study session, and since Alliance has come, we thank you so much for making this trip again and bringing some new faces. So what we would like to do is have you go through your presentation. Those of us that are here, we will be asking you questions. If that works for you, thank you. Melissa, could you call the roll, please?
Chairwoman Peasley.
Present.
Vice Chair Aragon.
Present.
Member Garcia. Member Reedy. Member Robledo.
Present.
You do not have a quorum.
Thank you. So we have, I think we can turn it, Katra, do you have any comments at this point?
Member Chairwoman Peasley, no, I think you captured it. And I chatted with Alliant, and they were nice enough to agree to sort of the game plan that we have outlined. And I also said that because we're recording it, we'll send that to them afterwards, them being the missing members. So that way they can review the video, and if they have any follow-up or clarifying questions, then they can relay those back to Alliant, and then they can answer those prior to us meeting again to issue the recommendation. That way, even though they're not here, everybody has the opportunity to ask and to get those questions answered.
All right, thank you. So I guess then we can turn it over to Alliant, and who's going to be heading the presentation? And if you could come and state your name and your position, thank you.
I am Mary Oling Sisay, and I am the Dean for the School of Education. And thank you so much for having us back. We found the feedback from last time incredibly instructive, and we've reflected upon it. And we believe in continuous improvement. And we have studied the standards, we have looked at our curriculum, and we took your advice and hyperlinked the forms, and we also made some improvements in terms of talking with school districts. You should have received the Glendale letter. We have had conversations with several other school districts. One of them is Peoria, and I'm blanking out on the names of the other school districts. But we're having ongoing conversations about building a relationship and moving towards having memoranda of understanding so that when we're ready to go, we are ready to go. So I'm going to call upon my colleagues to come up here and so that we're ready to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Which program do you want to start with, the elementary or the secondary?
The elementary.
Oh, okay, so we'll just be sure to pull that one up. Thank you. We do have copies of the proposal here in front of us on our tablet, so we can refer back. Committee members, I would like to say that that we really appreciate the work that you have done on this resubmission. It was very clear. I know I appreciated the detail of the courses that the rubrics that you're using, the references to the professional materials, and I will address that as we go through the submission. And so I thank you very much for your hard work and recognize that this was a significant effort and that there are distinctions between the two, the elementary and the secondary. Thank you. So I guess we can start with the first item that we scored on this, which is the areas of certification. It seemed to meet it. Did any other questions?
Nope.
You met the requirement on that one. The next area is under financial stability. We thank you for we had questions before on that, and in reading the auditor's letter, and of course with your explanation, that cleared up those questions from me. So on the financial stability, I didn't have any other questions on that. Good. All right. The next item is program description, standard 1, learner development. My comment was that you provided detailed information about the courses, the content, the instructional activities, competencies were provided. And also what I noticed is that there were very strong links in this proposal between the practicum and the course assignments and requirements. So I didn't have any other questions there. Anybody?
No.
I actually did have a question on one of your courses you list, and this is your prerequisite EDU 6003, so your introduction to teaching. So it states that it's only for those without prior classroom experience. Why did you decide that it's only for those particular individuals? When I think the question is, why is it not a requirement for all candidates of your program? And then how do you define classroom experience?
Well, we have the teacher of record. If you have a record of being a teacher already, then you've already invested in the profession. And so sometimes when an individual is interested in teaching, but they're not sure what it's all about, they have this kind of ideas of what it could look like. And so what we do is we provide them with this opportunity to really get to see the profession firsthand, to learn the background of some of the theoretical backgrounds and foundations of teaching, as well as give them multiple opportunities to see classrooms in action, so that then they could really come to that decision if this is the right field for them. So that's where we have that as an option for the ones that are new to the teaching field. And so that's why we do not require it. If you've already been in the classroom, then you already have those answers and are ready to move forward in the credential program.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay. This is also one that I appreciated seeing the work of Rick Mormelli mentioned in here. That was also a strong indicator, and the work of Wong and Wong. That is just a classroom. Should be a classroom standard for every teacher, and unfortunately, I have not seen enough evidence of the work of Wong in the Wongs in practice. But that was a very strong indicator for me of the strength of your program, that you're even introducing the concepts from those folks. That was great. Thank you. I appreciated that. Are there any other questions?
No.
Okay. Then we can, that was standard number 1. Standard number 2, the learning differences. Again, my comment from before was the requirement for the teacher candidates working in schools that don't meet the criteria for ELL learner, special education or low SES threshold, to have to spend time at a school that does have that. That is a unique requirement, and I think that stands well for your program, at least to give an exposure to your candidates for that. Any comments? Mm-hmm. Okay, standard 3, the learning environments. Thank you for getting rid of all the California references. That was very helpful. The only comment that I had, in this area, I saw that you met the rubric, but I still thought that our links to the Arizona standards are weak. And when you're working with Arizona candidates, they are going to be hearing about the Arizona teacher standards and the learning and the student learning standards for Arizona. That's all part of their evaluation. It's part of the training that they get within their school districts, dealing with those Arizona standards that have to be posted in every class every day for the student competencies. So when you're working with our teachers, I would just hope that there is an explicit connection between our standards and the instructional practices that you're embedding. Any other?
I have no comments on the student.
Pardon me?
I have none.
No.
Your, I really appreciate your EDU 6004 Educational Foundations course that really focuses on procedures. I think that's just very valuable, and it does help to set those learning expectations in these classrooms, and especially for this particular standard, which we're looking for the diverse and how we're reading all these needs of these different students that are going to be in that room. Setting those expectations right up front is just great. So thank you for that.
Okay. Next, standard 5, application of content.
5 or 4?
I'm 5. Are we back on 4? 4. Content knowledge. Any other questions? I didn't have any questions on that.
Do we want to talk about the math issue?
We did have the math, and I have that on another area, but I think it can definitely come up in here. One thing that we did notice, great information on working with ELL students, very strong curriculum there, strong curriculum for content for reading. The math, though, for the elementary, unless I missed it somewhere, I only saw a small unit, and the math standards that students are expected to achieve are exceptionally complex, and so I'm wondering how were you going to be? Do you have any other plans for beefing up the math, or is this just what it is?
So our plan, and you can all jump in, our plan was to take the methods course and beef it up based on the Arizona math standards and expectations for where the learners are supposed to be as age appropriate. So that's our plan for making sure that area is shored up. I addressed that.
So teaching math in an elementary context, that's not a separate course. Okay.
We would have a methods course that is separate for teaching math in elementary.
Okay. Is that course not developed yet, or?
It is developed. I don't think it came as clearly as it should be in our documents.
Okay.
Because we were just picking examples of courses to demonstrate that we could do it for subjects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you just give me what is the name of that course and the course number?
It is the EDU 6035, and it's broken down by subject area. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so if I'm a student who's taking EDU 6035, this is solely going to increase my skill in teaching math in the elementary context?
If your area, if you decided that you were going to focus on math, then all of your signature assignments would be based on math.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if I'm going to be teaching second grade? How will I get a training in how to teach, phonics, reading, comprehension, math, social studies, science?
I'm really excited about this course.
Great.
It's EDU 6012, and that is our elementary reading methods course. And I do teach that one, and I have a background in reading and literacy, and I love it. Its focus is strictly on reading and the reading process based on the National Reading Panel.
Okay. What other content areas would 6035 focus on?
Social studies, science, art, music, PE, all of the content areas of elementary education.
Okay. And so if I'm a student in that course, am I focusing on all 6 of those areas, 6 or 7 of those areas within that time frame?
Yes, in elementary education, yes. Secondary is different, but we're speaking of elementary, so yes, all of them are covered.
In that one class?
In that one course.
Okay.
So I think what you're asking is, do we have one course only for math methods?
Right. Like you have one for reading methods,
right,
but not one for math methods? Okay.
Currently, we don't. For the elementary level, we do not currently have that in place. We do instructional strategies across all the content areas. And so really we have...
Where do you do that at?
Marzano, we have in 6035.
In 6035.
So that's where it's the different content that the elementary teacher is required to teach.
In the course of 6035, how many classes would you say are devoted to mathematics?
I don't know specifically how many. It's more
what percentage do you think it would be?
Strategies in all content areas.
Okay.
That's something for us to think about and take back, because we've never really had that question posed before, that we really concentrate in one, the subject areas specifically. It's more like content instruction, and then we have it with the arts and in science and math, but we don't have it broken down for a number of weeks specifically.
Okay.
I think what you're going to find, the candidates will find themselves at a significant disadvantage if they do not have a math methods class. In Arizona, we are responsible to reporting to the feds our progress on reading and mathematics. The mathematics standards that we have in place in Arizona are exceptionally complex. It's developmental concepts where geometry, algebraic concepts are all taught starting in kindergarten. We very little attention is given to whole number calculation functions with whole numbers, fractions, and decimals. It is all progressive. It's all based on real life situations. And as I said, it starts with algebraic and geometric and logic thinking down in the kindergarten level. So to just use methods, to put math methods in your social studies and kind of is not going to help your candidates at all when they're having to teach math, and they are going to be responsible for their students' achievement in math. All of the teacher evaluations are tied to the students' achievement in progress as measured by the Arizona Merit, AZ Merit, which is our state test. So, I'm just going to put that out to you. Yeah. I just noticed that was a concern that I had in the math content. But for your candidates, it's going to be a challenge.
I just have one point to make. Sure. We actually are looking at our courses right now, and the lead faculty I have in charge of this course is a math person. And so she does, we'll be able to have this discussion and really take your feedback in and apply it very quickly, because this is something that we're in the midst of looking at right now. And so I really appreciate those sentiments moving forward.
Strategies and differentiation is not going to help with the complex mathematics that our students are having to master.
And I'm Tracy Heller. I'm the provost. Very nice to meet all of you in person. I want to say we appreciate that comment. And over our School of Education, we have an advisory committee. And our advisory committee has the school districts where our students tend to be placed. It has teachers. It has parents. And we are in a constant state of continually improving our curriculum and strengthening our curriculum so that our candidates go into schools and our schools say, these are the best trained candidates, and that our students who come from your school hit the ground, they're ready to run, both in terms of working within a school environment, working with families, diverse students, as well as the standards. So we And I think from the work from the first time we were in front of you to now, the ability to really take that feedback and have it then influence our curriculum. So we hear this, and not that you're serving in an advisory committee function, but we do take it in that way. And I think we're all clearly hearing what you're saying in terms of the importance of math. And we will take this back and look at that holistically across our curriculum and our training. And so thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you hear us not saying, well, this is where we do it, but hearing that you see that that's something that within our curriculum can be strengthened, especially for the prepared Arizona teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do want to be clear, though, and if that I'm going to have to score this area as approaches, just due to the fact that I don't, as a former school administrator and as a teacher, I would say, who would be looking at the program as based on like what is actually there right now. I would be concerned that I wouldn't have the skills to be effective at teaching elementary. That may not be what happens with your teacher candidates, but I know as a former principal, I might look at the candidate and ask, tell me a little bit about your training in math. And if they say, well, I just took one class in it, or I took a course that was very topical and it included social studies and art and those sorts of things, and we had like 3 classes with mathematics, I would probably, as a former school principal, think, wow, I would be worried about putting you in front of. Doesn't mean I wouldn't hire you, but I would definitely have to think about like the amount of coaching I would have to do to make sure you are ready to teach mathematics. So at this point, my score as of right now, I'm going to score this as approaches instead of meets.
We have someone on the line.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my name is Lisa. I just wanted to jump in. And then I know one of the questions was how many weeks specifically. In the content class 36, 60-35, they are specifically looking at the Arizona state standards. They're dissecting the standards across the grades. And I do know that you have new standards that you've adopted. So you'd be working with those new standards. And then they actually do specific in that math area. I just wanted to point that out, that is 60-35, very specific and broken down. I believe that's in weeks 3 and 4 in the class. And then additionally, they're in their clinical practice courses, they do complete plan. So that is also an area in which math can be incorporated, and they can do the unit plan in the content.
Mm-hmm. How much of if you know, what percentage of 60-35 would you say is dedicated to mathematics, and additionally in those other courses that you mentioned, to what extent would you say, or what percentage would you say math is involved there?
Yeah, so because it is one particular methods course, the math is with about 30% in that particular course. However, it is also integrated in the science content. So I could say actually 50% that math is integrated in that particular course. And then of course in the in the clinical practice courses where they're actually being observed, where their master teacher is able to go out and see the theory into practice. That's also an area in which they could choose to focus more.
All right. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments for Standard 4?
No.
Let's go on to Standard 5, the application of the content. I like the student performance review process. Your SERC, it had, and there was detailed information about concepts tied to course content, and expectations were provided. Any other comments?
So I currently have this as meets, which is great. It was a big improvement from last time. Can you tell me once again, I'm trying to gain as much evidence as possible to, bring that score up. Are there other advanced teaching techniques that you have in this area, such as project-based learning, that sort of, focus where it's more, or student choice types of learning, that sort of thing?
Throughout our program, we do have project-based, problem-based. I'm excited, we're going to be introducing 21st century framework where it's really about collaboration, communication, and having it explicitly shared, and then having our lesson plan also include those components. So we have it scattered throughout, but we're actually going to beef up our lesson plan to even have this as part of the unit expectations and have it more explicitly stated so that we could have the students make our teacher candidates make the connections that what we're having them do is what the expectation for their own planning and with their own students, and so that we could really show that we're meeting the needs of the students through those approaches. Mm-hmm. So,
okay, thank you. Any other comments? Standard 5? Let's go on to Standard 6, the assessment. I know my comment before seemed like it was more about assessing the candidates, but this time in this submission, the detailed information definitely was indicated it was more about assessing student learning. Yep. So thank you, I appreciated that. Comments?
No. Standard
6 rather, okay. Go on to Standard 7, planning for instruction. Lesson plan format and the unit plan made sense to me. Some assignments identified elementary grades, for examples. Are there any others?
No.
Seem to be okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Under Standard 7, though, this is where I did have a comment, though, that I would like to see a little bit more information in depth on the ELL population. The ELL population has really changed over the last 15, 20 years or so, and especially with Arizona being one of the states that takes over 2,100 UN refugees every year, that we have our ELL population is incredibly diverse. I don't know how many languages, and I know we're well up, I think it's getting close to 200 languages are spoken in Arizona. So an ELL class is no longer just comprised primarily of Spanish-speaking students. It's not even half that anymore. We have so many other languages, and the cultural differences as these children are coming to us from around the world, from the Middle East, from Asia, from war-torn countries and extreme poverty and neglect from Eastern Europe. So I was looking at the content of the classes and hoping that there is more emphasis in that coursework on the diversity of the English language learners, and getting more information to the candidates about the diversity of the cultures.
Yes,
okay.
And we agree. And so our approach is to use culturally inclusive and culturally relevant. And so we absolutely agree that the ELL population has changed from the traditional definition. And so it is no longer the multicultural approach of yesteryears. So we completely agree, and that's what we try to impart to our candidates.
All right, thank you. All right, if we're ready to go on to Standard 8, instructional strategies. Again, there was much more clarification on this submission. Comments?
Mm-hmm. No.
Daisy?
No, we're good. Thank you. Sorry.
You're good on that. Thank you. Okay. All right. Standard 9, professional learning and ethical practice. Again, my comments, there were weak connections to we didn't have the Arizona standards in there, but I'm hoping that is going to be embedded, because that's what all the teachers are going to be hearing about once they're employed. Any other comments?
Nope.
Standard 10, Leadership and Collaboration. Like the projects that were going to be completed in that section, they were good content.
And I want to go back to your hoping. You don't need to hope they will be in there. The standards will be in
Thank
there.
you.
And everything will link to a standard.
Thank you very much.
We could take hope out.
Okay. Thank you.
You do mention that you plan to add 4 additional assignments and that these were going to be reviewed in December. I'm just curious to get an update on that. Were the assignments reviewed? Were they approved? Were they modified from the drafts that we were given?
So they were reviewed, and then in the meantime, they were reviewed and approved at that time, but we also got a new assistant dean, and the assistant dean has experience other than from other states, and so we're looking at that again, but we did review it in December. Do you want to speak a little bit?
Yes, I'm sorry. You specifically want to know about the collaboration?
Yes.
So it's, let's see.
There's the leadership, the additional leadership.
And collaboration.
Mm-hmm. So it was a linkage with clinical practice, regular evaluation, and quality assurance. There was mention that as we evaluated our program in relation to Standard 10, we determined that we needed to strengthen the area of leadership and collaboration in our program, and that you were going to add 4 additional assignments.
So yes, they've shared with me that standard, and also the fact that the collaboration needed to be implemented or integrated within the professional development or the in-service academy that we have. We have brainstormed some of those topics, such as English language development, culturally responsive practices and strategies, classroom management, differentiation of instruction. Also, Dr. Bill Daggett's rigor and relevance framework, being able to have the candidates have a much more global awareness and relevance and rigor in their instruction, and having that integrated through professional learning communities as well. So that the strategies are implemented within the coursework, and those strategies are taken back into the classroom. But we see those strategies implemented within a professional learning community as well.
Okay. I did like looking at that. I think those 4 additional items, as long as they're going to be expanded upon, because that's really where the leadership comes in for your candidates, especially as a first-year teacher. They're not going to be taking on school leadership roles, but they do need to be able to act as leaders with the teacher collaboration. And as they're working in a team of other teachers, that they're working with a parent, they need to have a leadership, not a dominant, but a leadership role, and be able to portray that confidence.
Absolutely. Another tool that we were talking about using has the candidate looking at the roles of professional collaboration, collegiality, and academic collaboration. And so by understanding the 3 areas and understanding how these roles look in stepping outside the classroom and working with the stakeholders and working with the various communities of practice, by teaching them these teacher leadership skills, and using that survey to monitor progress to make sure that they are understanding those skills. Implementing that survey is what we're kind of reviewing now to make sure we want to use that as a tool to measure the progress of those skills.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next area is the application and review process. We still need to update the name of the teaching intern certificate is now the alternative teaching certificate. So update the name. That's the only comment I may have for that. Any other comments there?
No.
You actually do mention secondary subject knowledge exams for the elementary program. That's probably just was left there maybe from I'm going to make a guess that that's probably not what you meant. So you do list applicants are required to pass the Arizona Certification Secondary Subject Knowledge Exam?
Yes. Yes. That's correct. You're right.
However, if they were going to be middle school teachers,
that would be different.
That would be different. They would need to they might need to pass those secondary if they were going to get that. We've got that odd blend of secondary can teach down to 6th grade now.
Yeah.
And so it's
if it's like departmentalized, right?
If they're departmentalized.
Nonetheless, that's kind of like a typo, right? Yeah.
Right. So just going back and so that the candidates really are aware of what they're actually getting themselves into in this program when they sign up and what application process they need to complete. So.
Yeah.
Right, and that's really going to depend on the what position, for which position the candidates are hired, and then being able to work with the district's HR and make sure that they are taking the right assessments for the area that they want to be teaching. And if they're teaching in a departmentalized program school, or if it's general education, okay? It's going to be different. Okay. And then enrollment forms and descriptions, they were there. Again, we really appreciated having all the links to the forms so that we could look at it. And then you had I saw there was a comprehensive list of the forms that we could refer back to, so that again was also very helpful. Any other comments?
Nope.
No.
Okay. And since we are doing the elementary, you did have a letter from the Glendale Elementary School District. So that was, that fit there. Because this is the elementary application, and that is the elementary school district. So I didn't have any other comments.
And it's great to hear that you actually did mention other districts, because that was my other question. What other districts were you working with? So you did mention that ahead of time. Yeah. So I do appreciate that, and that's wonderful.
All right, so that met. And then the last item is it's not done. Sorry, not done yet on this page. But this is Article R72604, the length of time the candidate will be required to participate in a supervised program. That's their
typical
program. That met the expectations. Comments?
No.
All right, keep going. The next one, explaining the structure, supervision, and evaluation of the school-based experience and how it prepares them to be effective candidates. I had a question before, and I still do have a question. I didn't see the qualifications of the on-site supervisors. Did I miss that?
It was somewhere. I read it somewhere, but just we require them to have a master's and also to be whoever they're supervising to have the same credential in the same content area, so that they could provide the support they need. Oh, and 3 years of teaching experience as well.
Was that in here? Was that in the document and I missed it?
I saw it somewhere. I'll have to check, but I know I saw it somewhere.
Because I would like to be able to...
Let me see if I can see where it is, and I'll get back to you if I can find it.
Okay. That would change my rating if I saw that. I know I saw a comment about the teachers being highly effective or highly effective. We can come back to that if that's all right. You can.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We'll take the time.
Get your search team on that. Mm-hmm. The next one, how the supervised school-based program experience will promote effectiveness of the candidate. that met. I didn't have any comments there. R7260403A7.
No.
Comments? Forms for the school-based experience. All the forms were there that were discussed. Comments?
No.
Staff roles and responsibilities. That was there. Comments?
No.
The time to complete the program, that also was clear. Clear?
Clear.
Student success and evaluation tracking. I didn't have any comments. That's been clear throughout, talking about that throughout each of the standards. The candidate evaluation process was clear. The tracking and evaluation documents, I didn't have any comments there. The next one? Yes. Good. The program success, measuring the program success. The documents for consideration were listed from the various assessments and evaluations all along throughout the application. Any comments?
No.
No.
I found it. It's in page 8. It's in our MOU, and it says it requires the providers to be sufficiently trained to supervise candidates by holding an administrative service credential or credential certification pertaining to the candidate's teaching assignment, possess a master's degree, and have a minimum of 3 years experience in the area they are supervising so they can support candidates in serving all learners in clinical practice.
So do we have that?
We do.
We do. Page 8 of the submission.
Under quality
Quality
assessment.
assurance.
Got it,
Quality
yeah.
assurance number 1.
All right, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to go back and change that response.
Did we get to everything?
There it is. Okay, thank you. Did we just finish?
Yeah. Okay.
We did finish it. Thank you very much. Okay, then we have this section. Thank you. Do you want to take a break? Or you want to keep going?
We're good if
you
you're
wanna
good. If
take
you
a
need a
break,
break, you tell us.
Catcher, since we're not able to vote today, did you still want us to send the scoring documents to you now, or
I think,
it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I don't think, because just like you said, Member Aragon, because we're not voting today, it's
Yep.
not something that, I think you want immediate feedback on,
Right.
so it's not something I need right
Okay.
now. And actually setting it up like this might give you an opportunity to take a beat afterwards if you want and just
Yeah.
reflect overnight or whatever, and then if you feel good about it tomorrow,
Yeah.
you can send it to me then.
Okay.
I mean, I think as I'm just reviewing my scores right now, I think I would, overall, my averages would bring you to a passing score, so that's good. My only concerns are the math portion, so.
Right, and
I wish we had a quorum for you so we could just put it all to bed, but unfortunately, that's not our situation right now.
And I share your reflections, Josh, and we're just going to really shell shock in mathematics. We want to avoid as much of that as possible. So that would be it. Okay, then are we ready to go on? Do we want to pull up our secondary?
Sure.
And I don't know if this would be helpful or if it is even admissible, but since this is turning into more of a, what did you call it? A study
Study
session.
session.
Lisa Mauricio, who was the person you heard from over the phone,
Mm-hmm.
we can actually put a more formulated response about the math.
Okay.
And I think that could be helpful to include. We understand it's not part of the original. We understand you're saying that the ratings look like we're passed, but I think your confidence in knowing the kinds of teachers we train is critical
Right.
to us. So we can get you actually a more fleshed response than what went in the back and forth, just to be able to include for yourself, separate from the process.
Well, we would appreciate that, and that certainly would help us communicate with other stakeholders as we are asked about alternative teacher preparation programs, and then we can reliably discuss the methods that Alliant is proposing.
And coming back to what I had said before, as part of our processes for all of our schools, and this is something we've not predetermined, whether we actually establish a specific Arizona advisory committee or whether we join Arizona members to our current advisory committee, because that's sort of part of our ongoing process of our curricular review. So we'll address that as well too, as to what we think actually would serve the development of Arizona students the best.
You've got a lot, you have many links, and there's a lot of collaboration that's mentioned between the teacher mentors, the on-site evaluators of the teachers. So you're going to be getting that ongoing feedback about what the teachers need as they're going through the program, and once they're actually working out there, and they'll be giving it to you too. They will let you know. Okay, if we are ready. Mm-hmm. Then we can go on to the secondary. First one we have is the areas of certification. I didn't have any questions there.
No questions.
That was meant. Financial stability, again, that's been answered and solved. The standard 1 learner development, didn't have any questions there. Standard 2, learning differences. Same. You've got the information from Wong and Wormley, and that's good information there. Other questions?
No.
Standard 3, learning environments. That was all there.
Mm-hmm.
No questions?
No
questions.
Standard 4, didn't have any questions there. About that?
Nope.
Okay. No. Standard 5, application of content.
I have no questions.
Didn't have any questions there. Standard 6, assessment.
Nope.
Nope, no questions. No. Standard 7, planning for instruction. Anything else?
No questions.
Just again, about the ELL learners population, and that's the changing landscape there. Standard 8, instructional strategies. Any questions?
No.
Standard 9, professional learning and ethical practice. No, any questions?
No questions.
Leadership and collaboration, standard 10.
No.
The application review process, we've already gone through that. That's the same.
Mm-hmm.
No questions. The enrollment application forms, that was there.
Everything was there.
Everything. The district and school participants. Mm-hmm. Oops. We have Glendale Elementary School District, number 40, and you provided the letter for that. But then there is Glendale Union High School District, and that's a separate school district that's not unified. So you attach the Glendale Elementary School District letter to the secondary application. They're two different districts.
Do you have an agreement from a high school district yet?
We've been talking to Glendale as well.
Glendale High School?
Glendale Union?
Glendale Union High School District?
Yes.
Okay. But there's no MOU in place yet?
No, they're waiting to hear what we come up with.
Okay. Thank you.
So now Peoria, you mentioned Peoria. Peoria is unified. That is a pre-K through 12 school district.
Yeah.
And that'll be something, and we have quite a few of those. There's Phoenix Union High School District, which is 9-12. There's Phoenix Elementary School District, which is pre-K-8. So you kind of have to watch some of those names. Those are the two that are the closest, the four districts that have the most closely aligned names. So I had to give an unmet on that scoring, because you had the elementary district with the high school. the secondary application. But again, everything else, all your other elements were in line. The clearly states the next one, the length of time the candidate is required. That's the same as it was. Any comments?
No.
The qualifications for on-site supervisors, thank you for finding that. So we have that, the question is answered. The how the supervised school-based experience will promote effectiveness of the candidate. Questions? No.
No.
Covered the school forms. Again, we're all there. The roles and responsibilities and the credentials are provided. Mm-hmm. The time to complete the program was clear. Mm-hmm. Student success evaluation tracking, fine. Yep. Tracking and evaluation documents were all provided. And the program success. Any other questions there?
No questions.
No.
All right.
That was faster.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other questions for us?
Not as a question, but as
could you come up to the microphone because this is being recorded?
Yes.
Tracy, thank you.
Our process actually is very partnership driven. So it's not that we don't attract in individual students, but we work very much to partner with the school districts. And that's how we sort of organize what we do. So I think we've been, in a little bit of a loop because we're not coming saying that we are indeed approved. So we're having these in very informal conversations. But upon that process and whatever kind of updating about our relationships as we're building them with the districts, and we will move much more, assertively and strongly on that as we're coming and saying, indeed, we're here and we're ready to begin partnering with you. And so those informal conversations have been happening, but it's been a little like, well, are you? Well, not yet, and so we've been sort of moving in that direction.
Okay, thank you. So are you hoping, do you have a start date, anticipated start date?
For the program?
Once you become, if your program is approved by the State Board of Education, what is your idea then for a start date?
Mary, do you?
So it depends on your dates. My understanding is there's a month between this session and when the full board meets, and so ideally we would be looking at May.
Okay.
And between that approval, we actually would begin, immediately the discussions with the school districts and start to come and really look towards creating those partnerships. Mm-hmm.
So then I have a question about the course for those teachers, candidates, that 6003 course. Would that be, and were you thinking about doing that as an evening course for people who perhaps are already working and have a job, or would that be a day course?
It's pretty flexible. You want to address it when we offer it? It's pretty flexible based on the candidate's availability. So they can sign up as soon as they're admitted into the program. So we offer it on a continual rolling basis. And so we accommodate evening people, we accommodate those who need a mix of on-ground and technology. So we do it in a variety of ways, understanding that the needs of a variety of professionals.
Okay, so it's not a face-to-face class, it's online.
Yeah, but it does have an on-ground component for going to observe in a classroom.
Oh, good. Yeah. All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? No.
Thank you for your time and all of the hard work that you put into updating these applications. Madam President, if you could just, or Chairperson, can we just talk through the next steps here?
So, as I had mentioned earlier, I think I will send this video to both members Garcia and member Reedy, who I have heard from, and offer up if they have any questions. And then I think maybe offline right now, I'll try to get some dates from the three of you, hopefully within the next week, and we can set up a phone call meeting. That'll still be a public meeting. We'll post it. And I guess I can be here or at the board's offices if somebody's in and they want to be in person. And then, of course, we'll loop in Alliant too, because, this public meeting, want to make sure that you're aware and you can phone in. And I think in between now and then, if the three of you could get your scores into me, and then I think that'll kind of expedite the phone call meeting. So that way, if members Reedy and Garcia still want to talk about some things there and maybe want to do their scores live, then they can do that. But at least I'll have three of yours, and I think I already have some. But if you have revisions, you can send those again. But does that sound reasonable for?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Just want to make it as efficient as possible for you all, since I know you came a long way.
Yeah, exactly. And I, again, on the record now for the study session, apologize for not having that fourth on the quorum, and appreciate you working with us on it, and we'll try to make it smooth from here on out, process-wise. And then I think there was also a question about when, this potentially would go to the board. It would probably be at our February, I think it's 26th meeting. So we do have a January board meeting, but those materials already went out, and we try to get it to them, 2 weeks before. So I think it would be the February meeting. And that's, we had another applicant that was approved at a January board meeting. So, and I think they got rolling within a couple months too. So not too unusual for that timing.
Great. Okay.
And our team wants to thank you again for seeing us a second time, and that the first time was very instructive and constructive, and we think only has made this stronger. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You certainly are dedicated to getting teachers here in Arizona to continue to make these trips and to be so persistent in your application attempts. So thank you for being concerned about us.
Well, and I don't know if you shared this. Our university has a foundation. It's the Alliant Education Foundation. And in their board meeting, they determined what their major initiative was going to be. And it was going to be, whether you like the language or not, but the teacher crisis and closing the teacher gap. And so this really comes not just from our university, but also from our foundation in terms of one of their primary missions that they've set for themselves. So thank you for letting us partner with you in that regard. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, and thanks very much.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess there's no need for a motion to adjourn.
No, don't need. No.